Okay, let's start closing ceremony. I'm Jong Kim, the Congress President. I hope you have all enjoyed the past 10 days. Since we were all limited from wandering outside due to the coronavirus, I believe it was a good opportunity for us to enjoy the programs virtually provided at IRPA 15. Aside from the live sessions, it was possible to watch the pre-recorded videos whenever participants pleased. However, because live sessions were scheduled at the fixed times, there may have been some inconveniences. Although the ICOC and ICPC have set the best possible times for the live sessions to facilitate convenience for many different time zones, there may have been some scheduling inconveniences for those of you from some part of the world. As we are all aware, this Congress was the first online event that we had in the history of IRPA. The ICOC spent the last couple of days in hopes to successfully host the IRPA 15 until the end of the event. We had run into some obstacles as we had to prepare and organize this particular type of the event for the first time. In particular, I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize for not sufficiently preparing for the programs in advance. Something that was unfortunate is that the time set for the live sessions were 60 or 90 minutes. In particular, the 90-minute sessions were not long enough for both presentations and discussions. As a result, all of the presenters and participants of the discussions had to end the sessions wishing they had more time. Next, I will move on to some statistics from the Congress. There was a total of 764 participants from 62 countries all over the world. In terms of continents, there were over 400 participants from Asia, over 200 from Europe, and approximately 80 from North America. And we only had few participants from South America and Africa. Although this is a little bit above the 50% of the 1,500 participants that we had originally expected for a normal offline event, I'd like to say that this is still quite a feat. We were able to run all key sessions as we had originally planned. There was a total of 142 invited talks in the Congress. However, we had fewer technical sessions as we did not receive some of presentation files. If we go into detail in terms of participants of the live sessions, we had over 200 participants at a special session for widening public empathy, over 100 at the opening ceremony, including civil lecture and joint WHO LAMPAN IRPA session, radiation protection infrastructure session, and unscare workshop, but about 60 to 90 for other live sessions. There was a total of approximately 1,400 participants at all the live sessions as of yesterday. We had the highest number of participants from Asia with about 600, followed by Europe with 500. It is regrettable that there are only 10 participants from Africa, Oceania, and Middle East. Of course, as all live sessions were recorded, all participants could enjoy the live sessions whenever you pleased. As all the pre-recorded video files are accessible until February 5th, I highly recommend that you visit the IRPA 15 website until then. Before we come to the end of the event, I would like to pass on the IRPA flag that we had received from IRPA 14 in Cape Town in 2016 to the next Congress president. As we all already know, it was decided that the IRPA 16 will be held in Orlando in the United States at the virtual General Assembly that we had on January 14th. Although it does not actually feel like I am physically passing on the flag, I'd like to virtually pass on the IRPA flag to Kevin Nelson, the IRPA 16 Congress President. I hope Kevin is here on this virtual ceremony. Kevin is here? Oh, probably he couldn't, but I show that IRPA flag, okay? Okay. Please. Can you see this flag, IRPA flag? Can you see this IRPA flag?
Yes, I can see.
Okay. This is flag what we received in 2016 at the Cape Town. So I assume he is the Kevin, okay? I'll pass it on to him, okay? So take this one. Okay. Okay. All right, let me go back to my desk. All right, next, since we had the YSA competition during the IRPA 15, I'd like to take this time to announce the winners of YSA and hand out their prizes. So let us have Hiroko Yoshida, the YSA committee chair, to briefly explain the background of how the committee selected the winners and hand out the prizes. Okay, so over to Hiroko.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the award ceremony for the Young Scientists and Professionals Awards. My name is Hiroko Yoshida, an executive council of IRPA. I'm a chair of the review committee for the awards. For these awards, we had 22 candidates nominated from associated societies. Unfortunately, 8 candidates withdrew from the competition because some did not meet the deadline and some did not submit their paper nor video. The candidates were judged on the quality of the underpinning work, its value to radiation protection, importance of the research topic, the quality of the written full paper, and the quality of oral presentation performance in the video. A review committee of 11 experts, including the members of the IRPA Young Generation Network, reviewed their full papers and videos. Then the review committees selected 4 winners, since we have 2 second prize winners. The prizes are worth a total of $4,000. All candidates, regardless of the result, will receive participation certificates to honor their efforts. Now, it is my great honor to announce the winners. The third prize winner is Mr. Chansu Choi from Korea. The title of his paper is Development of Pediatric Mesh-type Reference Computational Quantum Series of International Commission on Radiological Protection. The second prize winner is Ms. Hannah Wiedner from Austria. The title of her paper is Development of Innovative Methods in Radionuclide Meteorology for Applications in Natural Resources and Life Sciences. The other second prize winner is Mr. Florian Menzel from Germany. The title of his paper is Machine Learning for Personal Dose Monitoring, Insights into Irradiation Scenarios with a Novel TL Dosimeter. The top winner is Ms. Chiara Maguni from Italy. The title of her paper is How Radiation Protection Issues Influence the Design of a Clinical Facility for Accelerator-Based Boron Neutron Capture Therapy. Now you see 4 winners. A prize of $1,500 for the top winner, $1,000 for the second winner, and $500 for the third winner, and prize certificate will be awarded. Congratulations again on all winners. We hope all of candidates will continue their great works in radiation protection. And at the end of the session, IRPA thanks Congress President Professor Nyon for his generous offer of support to these awards. Thank you for joining the session and congratulations again.
Thank you, Hiroko. And again, congratulations to the 4 winners. Next, we'll have the ICPC chairman, Wolfgang Weiss, to talk about the key outcome summaries on the scientific presentations and the result of the discussions. Just hand over to Wolfgang.
Thank you, Jan.
Okay.
In preparing this summary, I tried to include as many of the conclusions of this Congress, but given the fact that the program ended only an hour ago, some of the things I will say are personal because there was no chance to discuss it with you or with other members of the planning committee. The selection which I will present is based on IRPA's key objectives to promote excellence in radiation protection by providing benchmarks of good practice and enhancing professional competence and networking. Focusing on this key objective requires to address issues well beyond scientific evidence, and it requires a high degree of interaction between stakeholders. This was challenging within this online and offline combined format of the Congress. Some of the challenges, and Jan, you mentioned that, were of technical nature, but many of the challenges were due to the fact that we are not used to have these interactions and discussions which happen around tables or in closed rooms. They are not used to do that with web techniques and the techniques behind. We tried to solve this problem by organizing web seminars. But as Jan already said, the time for these seminars, 90 minutes, very often was too short for an in-depth discussion afterwards. So these are lessons and consequences we have to take into account if we analyze the system and the organizational background of this Congress as a whole. The Congress nevertheless provided many opportunities to discuss issues which are key for the conference to bridge radiation protection culture and science and to widen public empathy. There were 8 topical session areas of the Congress and special and enhanced thematic sessions where discussions and contributions of ethics, communication, public understanding, human capital, and competency and culture were discussed. The available evidence and experience and the challenges were discussed. And in many of these issues, the question remained, what's next? This is something for the next Congress and for the time in between, Anna Maria, to discuss. It's not, a conference of this time is not a final Congress where every question is answered. It's a step towards the next step. And I mean, this became very obvious in this case. There were 2 outstanding contributions of research and good practice, and they were honored by the CEVIT Award to Professor Eliseo Vanyo in recognition of its outstanding contribution to radiological protection in medical applications, and the gold medal to Dale Preston for his development of risk regression models and modeling software that are widely used in radiation epidemiology. Most of the discussions were focusing on radiation protection in the ionizing radiation system. And the highlight from ICRP is without any doubt the soft launch of a review and revision of the fundamental recommendations in the ICRP recommendation 103. IRPA came at the right time to feed into this, although it's clear that the review process will likely to continue throughout this decade. Revision of these basic papers take time. 10 to 20 years typically. And we shouldn't rush. We should do the best we can to make the new revision a perfect representation of the evidence and the science and the experience we have right now. To be clear, the discussions clearly indicated that the existing system is broadly sound. There's nothing wrong in it, but after 10 years after Fukushima, 30 years after Chernobyl, and 20 years after the last presentation of ICRP 103, a lot of information and evidence has been identified, and this has to be digested and formulated in the new version of the IRPA recommendation. The analysis of the Fukushima accident resulted in many scientific, operational, and cultural consequences which have to be considered when we update the ICRP 103. We had a session on the health consequences, the management and occupational and the public exposures based on Chernobyl and Fukushima experience. And again, there were many issues identified which have to be considered when we update ICRP 103. In the medical field, 9 years ago, I organized a Bonn conference which ended up with a Bonn call for action to do major issues in the operational, the scientific, and the political field related to radiation protection in the medical field. And the discussions clearly showed that a lot has been done by international organizations worldwide. But again, this is not the end. We now know where we are, and we now know where the key steps forward have to be done. We had a session on tolerability and reasonability, and it became very clear that there's a trend towards minimization and over-conservatism in the assessment and judgments. And we have to be careful not to overdo. There's always a risk and a benefit with what we are doing, and we should not overdo to go to zero or almost zero levels. It must be reasonable, and it must be justified in the contents of the application of ionizing radiation in the relative fields. Communication and public understanding was the next session we had. And it was very clear from the presentations we had. All the presenters were in accordance with their statement that it's not the requirement to tell people facts and to kill them with science. They want to see that you care before they care what you know. And we had many practical challenges identified. One had to do with the young generation, which more and more uses public media, not recommendations by ICRP or by any international organization. They use social media, and the risk there is that rumors can take over. And we have to protect ourselves and the population and deal with this rumor control and the response to these rumors anytime. Again, preparedness is the key. And this requires, at an operational level, many changes in the allocation of responsibilities in an organizations. Who is responsible to deal with 10,000 of questions I received after Fukushima? Is it my president? Is it my minister? Or can I rely on the 50 experts I have? At that time, it was very clear, it was my president and my minister. And it took 2 days before we responded to that. We have to think how we can deal with that in the future, because social media will take over more and more. We have to prepare for these things. Covello told me 10 years ago, you can anticipate almost all the questions which will be asked if you think about. And I tested that with the report on Fukushima from Anscare. We worked for 1 week all day to identify these questions. And then we got hundreds of questions. And I mean, with the exception of a few, we had identified all of them. And we had answered formulated on them. And we could respond very fast. Again, preparedness is the key. There is one basic thing brought up by Abel, and this is that for the first time, we discussed the primary issue of limitations of the scientific evidence on which radiation protection is based. The discussion took place in the context of quantities and units, but it could be extended to all areas of radiation protection. And the question behind is that we have to make a clear distinction between attributable factual health effects to radiation exposure above 100 millisievert and the inferring conjectural radiation risk following low dose exposure below that. We use LNT, and this is for many of us the agreed answer, but these are, from a scientific point of view, two issues. We have to be clear, not only in understanding that these issues are different, but also in dealing with these issues when we communicate. We had a session on infrastructure challenges in developing countries, and the picture is very clear. There are major difficulties dealing with infrastructures, with resources, with regulation, with everything. And we need to do as much as we can to help, together with other international organizations, of course, to help people who are dealing with these issues in these countries under these circumstances to be able to do their job. And again, this is something for the future to address, because I don't think it's ethically acceptable that we identified there is a problem and we don't do anything. Sustainability of the professional into the future. We are all getting older. Look around, there is one in the list who is younger than 30, I think, Kim, but all the others approaching retirement age within the next 10 years. And we have to make sure that in 10 or 15 years, we don't only have the best possible RP descriptions and requirements and papers and the best legislation. We need people who understand what this is, not just the word, but what this is in reality, what has to be done, communicate that with the population if need be. And we have to do something to deal with that. And I think I'm very, very proud, Roger, that IRPA is addressing that with this young generation network. This is a way to go forward, and this is a good way. A similar situation is the situation with women in radiation. They are no doubt underrepresented. And this is not good because the values of women, Anna Maria, are different from the values of men, Abel. And I mean, radiation protection is for the society. It's not for men because they used to be dominating the whole radiation protection system for decades. It's for everybody. So we need your input, and the discussions in this session were very positive and with a call to action. And I'm looking forward to see what's happening during the next generation. We had little discussion on non-ionizing radiation, but I understand that IRPA and ICNIRP discussed ways to bring the two fields, ionizing and non-ionizing radiation, together. They have published the new version, which is not identical with what we have in ionizing radiation, but it's agreed there's more work to be done in the future to solve the problems which we are having. Now, this is the end. You think it's not the end. The work begins. All the presentations will be looked at, and some of them will be published in the proceedings of the Congress, and some of them will be published in JRP. And for my colleagues and me and Young and his colleagues, we have already identified a date to meet again next Tuesday, where we will look at the summaries, at the proposal, which of these presentations should be published. Then we will have to look at their quality, if they are really worth to be published in a scientific journal or not. And we give them a chance to upgrade if they want. And then by the end of summer, by the end of the Corona situation worldwide, hopefully, we will see what has been presented during the last 2 weeks, which was excellent given what conditions we had to face, but it wasn't perfect. It was the best we could do. Thank you.
You're mute. You're muted.
Microphone.
Yeah. Thank you, Wolfgang. I know it is not easy to summarize the entire outcomes that we had during the Congress. But I think it did very good, and everybody enjoyed what he gave us, a very good summary. Now, to end the closing ceremony, we'll have short remarks from the outgoing president, Roger Coates, who has done an excellent job for the past 4 years, and the incoming new IRPA president, Bernard Le Guin, over to you, Roger, and then Bernard, please.
Thank you, Jon, and dear colleagues. What started out as a 4-year term in May 2016 at the Cape Town Congress eventually became extended by a further 8 months due to the worldwide pandemic, resulting in perhaps the longest term in IRPA's history. But the term has been very busy, and you can see the achievements that I think we've had as they are reported in full in our term report, which is available through the IRPA website, and I commend it to your attention. I believe that during the 4-year period, we've delivered successfully as an IRPA team, both on our role as the international voice of the radiation protection profession, and also on our role to develop and share good practice and guidance amongst the IRPA family. Of course, one big challenge has indeed been the impact of the global pandemic over the last year or so, and its impact has been significant, especially on this Congress. And I'd like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to Congress President Jon Kim and his Korean team for rising to the challenge of delivering what eventually became this totally virtual Congress, as we've heard, the first ever in IRPA's history. And of course, similar challenges have presented to Wolfgang Weiss and the Scientific Program Committee, and we're grateful for all the work that they've done. But IRPA is now well placed to move forward from here under the guidance of the incoming president, Bernard Le Guen. So I'm delighted to have this opportunity to hand over the stewardship of IRPA to Bernard, and therefore virtually hand to him the President's Office Medal of Office, which I have here. I will have to hand it into the computer. And I'm sure through the magic of current technology, this will appear in Bernard's in tray imminently, I wish. So, having virtually handed over the IRPA presidency to my dear friend and colleague Bernard, I hand to you the floor for the final remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Dear Congress President, dear IRPA President, esteemed delegates, and honored IRPA members. I am deeply touched and honored to now close the IRPA 15 Congress, and would like also to take this opportunity to say a few words of thanks. First, thanks from the bottom of my heart to Jon Kim, the IRPA 15 president, my personal friend and esteemed colleague, for his relentless and much appreciated effort. Jon has always made sure that in spite of all the challenges due to a late change in PCO and a worldwide pandemic, everything was going to happen as per the plan for the Congress. Thank you, Jon, to you, and also, of course, to your incredibly professional team. IRPA also thanks IRPA 15 and President Jon Kim for his generosity and his financial support to YSA Award. I also believe that from the IRPA 15 Virtual Congress, all future congresses will never be the same again. Indeed, having pre-recorded all our presentations for IRPA members now and in the future is a unique opportunity for a common memory, which will leave a mark for future IRPA generations. I strongly encourage my friend and IRPA 16 President Kevin Nelson to draw positive experience from these innovative digital tools we have used, wherever you are in the world, at any time of day or night. This new approach will give you access to valuable presentations and discussions. As and when we are reflecting on the future of our profession, this is how IRPA can pave the way for the future of education and training for our young generations. I could not conclude on the preparation of IRPA 15 without extending my gratitude to ICPC Chair, Mr. Wolfgang Weiss, for his passionate and long-standing involvement in the success of IRPA 15. But last not least, I would like to thank particularly our IRPA president from 2016 to today, Roger Coates, for his services to IRPA. We all know that IRPA presidents are only passing and waving the IRPA flag while IRPA is here to stay. Roger, we are grateful to you for your strong engagement. You have waved the IRPA flag loud and proudly and encouraged and supported the EC for the past 4 years. My personal thanks also go to my 4 colleagues from the EC who are leaving: Eduardo Gallego, Yong Kim, Dick Tui, and Alfred Effner. In the name of IRPA, we thank all you for your support and steady contribution to our association. You can be proud of your achievements with IRPA. Thanks to the recent changes in the composition of the Executive Council, the EC has a more balanced representation with EC members from all continents. I therefore would like to wish our 3 new EC members from 3 different continents a warm welcome. Welcome to you, Joseph from Africa, Cameron from Asia, and Claire Louise from Europe. On a more personal note, I would like to thank all IRPA members for their confidence. Since I was elected as EC members back in 2008 in Buenos Aires, and I appointed as executive officer in 2012, I am aware of the responsibilities you are now bestowing upon me, and I will strive to deserve your trust in me. In the country where French scientist Henri Becquerel first discovered radioactivity, and where the famous couple Pierre and Marie Curie discovered radium, this is the first time ever that IRPA has made a choice for a president from France. It was gratifying, but also humbling at the same time. Having a multiple background for the past 30 years as a medical doctor with a long history in research and being a long-time representative in radiation protection of the French nuclear industry, I will do my utmost best to represent all IRPA specialties in our association and act as your voice. I'm looking forward to continuing IRPA's work in this direction. Be assured that with the new EC, I will continue to do so and reach out to new members, taking up the challenge of constantly working in close cooperation with other international organizations and associations, as we have done and will continue to do so. For instance, with the joint initiative in healthcare with WHO and the EAA and IOMP on ethical issues or tolerability and reasonableness, or on the future IRPA recommendation with ICRP, just to name a few. I pledge to strive and make every effort to remain a fair and open representative and to promote all IRPA societies from the smallest to the largest, working together and cooperating with us so we can reach our common objective. Long live IRPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Roger, again, and Bernard, especially your warm word to outgoing EC members and Team Korea. Although the length of closing ceremony was only approximately 40 minutes, I hope that it has been a meaningful time for all of you. Thank you all from all around the world for being here today. And I would like to invite Roger Court again to ring the IRPA Pulvani bell that ends the IRPA 15 International Congress. Over to you, Roger.
It is my pleasure. The Congress is now closed.
Okay. All right. Have us safe in corona errors, and I hope to see you soon anyway, where probably in Europe or maybe in Asian country. Please visit Korea. Please let me know, okay?
Certainly.
All right.
Certainly. Thank you.
Keep my kimchi. Keep my kimchi.
And I'm sure we will be stronger than the coronavirus. Sure, definitively.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your big.
Okay, Anna Maria.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye. Goodbye.
Abel.
Bye.